Hello, my people. Before we start with the episode today, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and drop a like. Haiti, a country in the West Indies, shares Hispaniola with the Dominican Republic. There is a boundary between the two nations. The cultural heritage of Haiti is lengthy. It was the first country to abolish slavery under the leadership of former black slave Toussaint L'Ouverture in 1804. Haiti was proclaimed the first black-led country on January 1st, 1804. The nation's rich nature is home to stunning beaches, mountains, staggering waterfalls, and historic sites. Haiti is a fascinating tropical location with a wealth of craftsmen, great fresh organic cuisine, and joyful music. However, political unrest, including the murder of the country's president in July 2021, and natural disasters have increased poverty, crime, and the country's present reputation as a dangerous tourist destination. Crime in Haiti. Haiti has experienced numerous catastrophic earthquakes and hurricanes over the years. After the most devastating earthquake in 2010, which killed over 300,000 people and left 1.5 million homeless. The nation is still struggling to rebuild. The majority of Haitians are poor and have limited access to basic necessities like clean water. At the moment, criminality is rampant in Haiti. There is a very real risk of violent crime in every part of Haiti, including assault, armed robbery, murder, kidnapping, and rape. Some regions are more dangerous than others. Labadee, a region rented by a cruise liner business, is an exception. Only cruise passengers can get access to this private location. Serious violent crimes are common and do occur. Never venture out alone or after dark. When you're outside of your hotel, stay with your tour group or chaperone. The US government will upgrade its travel advice to level 4, do not travel, because to a rise in kidnapping in Haiti, carjacking, muggings, and robberies are some other violent crimes that are frequently committed by armed criminal gangs. In Haiti, kidnappers frequently have financial motives, and they target children as well as adults without regard to their victim's age, gender, nationality, or ethnicity. After their families have paid a ransom, some kidnapped victims who have been released describe having been beaten, tortured, and are sexually abused. The Decameron, an all-inclusive resort and spa on Côte d'Arcandans, is one of the safe hotels and marketplaces in Port-au-Prince and other parts of Haiti. But especially at night, you shouldn't go around Port-au-Prince alone. Avoid Pensionville, Carrefour, Madison, Site Soleil, and Delmas Road region and other high crime zones. Additionally, some roads ought to be avoided. Numerous violent crimes, including murder, robbery, and carjacking, have taken place on Route Nationale No. 1, the Airport Road, Boulevard Toussaint L'Ouverture, and the roads leading to the New American Road. Prisoners in Haiti still face horrendous conditions. According to a new UN study released on Wednesday, detainees in Haiti frequently endure years of cruel abuse and torture while they are still waiting trial. The UN Human Rights Office and the UN Integrated Office in Haiti published a study in French that details the conditions and treatment of detainees. It demands that immediate action to be taken to address both the poor circumstances of incarceration and the significant number of prisoners being held without charge pending trial. The study, based in UN personnel's visits to 12 detention institutions between January and March 2021, when they spoke with 229 people who had been deprived of their liberty in private interviews. The research adds that an overpopulation of detention facilities as a result of the excessive use of pretrial incarceration and the judicial system's slow ability to try criminal cases has resulted in a backlog in getting persons in front of a court. 82% of those who are now imprisoned in Haiti have not received a conviction. The United Nations Integrated Office in Haiti was recently informed by a Haitian prisoner that "We are tired of living like this. We live worse than animals." In a thorough report released today by the UN mission and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. His testimony and that of more than 800 inmates in 12 prisons are included. The harsh reality of Haiti's jails should serve as a wake-up call for the government to press for long overdue reforms. The research makes clear that the majority of prisoners are housed in cramped, dimly lit cells with inadequate ventilation, sanitary amenities, or access to clean water. They urinate in containers that aren't frequently cleaned out. They receive one meal a day and have little to no access to medical treatment. The UN found that these circumstances amounted to torture and maybe other forms of cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. And to make matters worse, they predate the COVID-19 pandemic. Monitoring techniques haven't been able to improve these terrible circumstances. There aren't enough resources for officials from the Haitian prison administration to frequently visit prisons. A specialized office established in 2018 to examine prisons hasn't made any visits. Detainees cannot formally complain about mistreatment to the General Inspectorate of the National Police. The disproportionate use of pretrial confinement by the government is a major contributor to congestion. More than 82% of inmates had not been tried as of June 1. Before a detainee even sees a judge, they are frequently kept indefinitely. After years of resolutions and investments to do so, the UN Security Council once more urged Haiti to discontinue the practice of lengthy pretrial imprisonment in March 2021. The adoption of a new criminal code and criminal procedural code by presidential decree in 2020, which is scheduled to come into effect in June 2022, allows Haiti to investigate alternatives to pretrial imprisonment and designates child detention as a last resort. The provisions might restrict the use of pretrial detention, whether they are put into effect as written now or are approved by a future legislature. However, significant international players should press Haiti to fully implement additional recommendations made by Haitian civil society organizations and BINUH, including bolstering judicial independence and addressing police corruption in order to reduce congestion and respect prisoners' rights. Without such pressure, the government of Haiti will have few, if any, incentives to improve the horrific circumstances that have pervaded its jails for at least 25 years. In most detention facilities, convicts lack access to basic medical treatment and medications, putting them at risk should a medical emergency arise and forcing them to rely on family members for assistance. The research adds that all of the jails visited consistently employ cruel, inhuman, or humiliating treatment as a form of punishment, even against children. 29.9% of those questioned about their experiences stated they had been mistreated by prison staff or other prisoners with the permission of the guards, while 44.5% indicated they had seen cruelty. The report notes that the state adopted the Criminal Code and the Code of Criminal Procedures, which will go into effect in June 2022, among other measures to lessen the usage of pretrial detention. By encouraging alternatives to detention, they could help decrease the jail population. While these are significant moves in the right direction, it'll take time for them to have the desired impact. According to Bachelet, the government should act now to improve the conditions in which detainees are held. The author continued, the authorities should also take measures to reduce the overall number of people detained, including by granting the early or provisional release of low-risk individuals. People charged with minor offenses, pregnant women, minors, and those who are particularly vulnerable to COVID-19 or associated diseases. Although COVID-19 first only spread locally in Haiti, instances are now fast rising there as well, especially among inmates. More than 500 prisoners at the National Penitentiary in Port-au-Prince have had a fever, diarrhea, and other COVID-19 symptoms in recent weeks. There were 16 prisoners who passed away from health issues in May alone. The authorities and others are unable to ascertain the true prevalence of COVID-19 infections in jails due to the lack of an appropriate testing approach for those who are denied their liberty. The report's findings, which include extreme overcrowding, the lack of ventilation and access to fresh air, as well as restricted access to water, sanitation, and medical care, raise the possibility that it'll be very challenging to stop the virus's spread. Bachelet reaffirmed her desire to work more closely with the Haitian government in an effort to improve the difficult human rights situation there. In addition, the High Commissioner urged the Haitian government to ratify both the UN Convention Against Torture and its optional protocol, and to establish a national system to combat torture. With this, we end our video for today. I hope you like it. Thank you for watching.